Eric, we've got lots of issues to discuss if we had the time, but we've got time for three very important issues today. And I'd like to start with the midterm congressional elections, which took place recently. Speculate on what some of the significant outcomes for the Jewish community and our policy agenda might be.
Yeah, let's get right to it. One outcome of the elections is that the number of Jews in the House of Representatives will increase by a net of 4 for a total of 32 Jewish representatives in the new Congress, along with 10 senators. The number of Jewish governors will double from 2 to 4. One of the newcomers is Governor-elect Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, whose children attend Jewish day school, and he may be an up-and-comer in the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, we're losing 2 solidly pro-Israel members of Congress, Democrat Elaine Luria of Virginia and Republican Lee Zeldin of New York, who ran unsuccessfully for governor. On a positive note, some of the incoming members like Democrat Jared Moskowitz of Florida and Republican Max Miller of Ohio also have strong pro-Israel credentials and should add bipartisan depth to congressional support for the U.S.-Israel relationship. On the other hand, Summer Lee, a progressive Democrat from the Pittsburgh area, who tweeted comparisons between Israel and the killer of Trayvon Martin, won her race and could become a vocal critic of Israel in Congress. Democrat Adam Frisch of Colorado is in a mandatory recount and is heated race against incumbent Lauren Boebert, who has angered the Jewish community with her statements comparing vaccine policy to Nazism. If he prevails, Frisch would be the 33rd Jewish member of the House. Now, the Republicans have won a majority in the House, which means that Representative Mike McCall of Texas, an outspoken proponent of Israel's right to defend itself, is expected to become chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee and will have the power to hold hearings. This in turn means we might see some hearings challenging the administration's policies in the Middle East. McCall issued a warning to the administration earlier this year that if it entered into a nuclear deal with Iran, quote, "It will be subject to review by Congress under the law, and my colleagues and I will closely scrutinize the terms. Another bad deal is worse for our national security than no deal," end quote. Those are Mike McCall's words. Another issue that might receive close attention from the committee is the effort which B'nai B'rith has supported to defend the UN Human Rights Council's biased Commission of Inquiry in Israel. Finally, Republican leader Kevin McCarthy, who's expected to become the next Speaker of the House, has promised to remove controversial Congresswoman Ilhan Omar from the Foreign Affairs Committee because of her anti-Semitic and anti-Israel pronouncements. At the same time, Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene is expected to regain committee assignments that she was stripped of by Democrats because of her anti-Semitic conspiracy theories. So it's a mixed bag all around, but a lot to pay attention to in the upcoming year.
Well, certainly the Iran issue is one that we follow very closely. And you said about the Commission of Inquiry, this heavily biased UN committee created by the Human Rights Council with an open-ended mandate to demonize and delegitimize Israel is something of concern. And a number of members of Congress have spoken out on it. So it's important that pressure on the UN from Congress, and we are a very large contributor, I think we're the largest contributor to the UN budget, is heard loud and clear. Second question, Governor Glenn Youngkin of Virginia formed a commission to combat anti-Semitism earlier this year with B'nai B'rith involvement. You sit on that commission. What progress has this led to, and how can other state and local governments build on what's happening in Virginia today?
Well, this has been a very positive development this year. In fact, the results of the recommendations in the report were just released. And first of all, credit goes to Governor Youngkin, who not only formed this commission, but did it on day one of his administration by way of executive order. When the chief executive of a state issues a directive like this, it signals that anti-Semitism is an urgent public matter and a top policy priority. Governor Youngkin appointed 15 members to the commission representing fields such as academia, government relations, law, and law enforcement. It's also worth noting that the state attorney general and secretaries of education and homeland security are ex officio members and are participating in the commission's work. I'm serving on the commission, and B'nai B'rith is the only Jewish advocacy and social service organization represented. Together, we drafted policy recommendations for the governor in the areas of education, law enforcement, data collection and monitoring, and homeland security. We look forward to their implementation in the near future, and you're welcome to look for the report online, and it'll be linked to on the B'nai B'rith website. I hope that the Virginia Commission can serve as a model for other state and local governments to follow. Many state and local jurisdictions need improvement in their data collection and data collection and monitoring, for example. In some cases, there's a definitional problem because not every public official knows exactly what anti-Semitism is, and therefore upholding the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's working definition of anti-Semitism is crucial. But police departments often need better instruction in identifying and reporting on hate crimes. If that comes from state authorities, it can lead to more uniform and thorough implementation. Perhaps most of all, having our public officials at the state and local levels underscore the urgency of the problem, and the need for action is an important way to raise awareness at the grassroots. The fight against anti-Semitism needs to be more than a tweet or a statement from an official. The public needs to understand the dimensions of the problem and the need to combat it.
Well, let's dig a little bit deeper exactly on that issue. You know, for years, we've been deeply concerned about the BDS movement on campus, going back years. Now, that has kind of evolved into a situation where Jewish students on many campuses, in fact, campuses where there are large Jewish enrollments, are on the receiving end of a great deal of opprobrium, bullying, all of those, the means of intimidation, which come out of BDS and come out of the issue of demonizing Israel. What's the state of anti-Semitism on U.S. schools, campuses, and what steps are the authorities taking to make Jewish students feel safer?
Well, unfortunately, anti-Semitism in education in the United States is increasing at record-breaking and alarming rates. On college campuses in particular, anti-Semitic incidents have been rising for some time, and campus environments are becoming more hostile, with more than 350 incidents occurring in the most recent academic year. To be clear, these are not mere examples of criticism of Israel, which is protected speech and which occurs routinely on college campuses, of course. Rather, these are cases in which Jewish students are harassed or discriminated upon because of anti-Semitism or anti-Zionism. It's a situation that requires an effective, coordinated response. B'nai B'rith has led a coalition of Jewish organizations in pressing the U.S. Department of Education's Office of Civil Rights, or OCR, to protect Jewish students. In the United States, Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 prohibits various forms of discrimination at federally funded programs and activities. The past two presidential administrations have indicated that Jews, as a group with shared ancestry and identity, should be protected under Title VI. So we've had good news pieces from both of the last two administrations, one Republican, one Democratic. We welcome the current administration's announcement last year that the Department of Education plans to issue a proposed rule to amend its regulations implementing Title VI in response to the previous administration 2019 White House executive order on combating anti-Semitism. This formal rulemaking that we are hoping for shortly will ensure that the anti-Semitism executive order of 2019 and other federal guidances on enforcement of Title VI, including combating anti-Semitism, are properly maintained, enforced, and respected in schools and on campuses. This formal regulation is expected to be issued this month. It will codify the process by which the Office of Civil Rights refers to, in appropriate circumstances, the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance working definition of anti-Semitism that I referenced a moment ago, and its quote, contemporary examples which describe the manifestations of the problem, to inform its analysis of whether a pattern of discrimination exists as OCR is investigating complaints of harassment against Jewish students. And consistent with that 2019 White House executive order, such reviews should be mindful of First Amendment protected speech or expression. This is a very important part of the IRA working definition and the White House executive order. Policy criticism is fair game, but not criticism that crosses the line into hatred. We look forward to the department issuing the new regulation this month, which we hope will be drafted in such a way as to help stem the current tide of anti-Semitism and hatred affecting students across the country.
Well, in order to stem the tide, you have to take it seriously, and it sounds like some steps are being taken. I know we'll continue to monitor that and to advocate for more of the same. A problem that we have, of course, is this feeling we have now that anti-Semitism is becoming mainstreamed. It's not just a campus issue. It's far beyond the campus. We see it, of course, with celebrities. We've seen that in recent weeks. We see it in the media. We see it in a lot of places that 20 or 30 years ago we didn't see. Now, the internet, of course, has acted as the great force multiplier when it comes to anti-Semitism. But it's not enough just to talk about it. Something has to be done. And glad to hear that these steps are being taken. Eric, thank you. Thank you for keeping an eye on these issues on Capitol Hill and in the executive branch, and for joining us for this conversation.
Thanks very much. Glad to be here.